Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha, Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jam Vishnu Param Sivarad Ratchakacharya Stotter Shatti Divine Grace Apparition in the Bhaktivedanta Samishlo Prabhat Ki Jam Vishnu Param Sivarad Ratchakacharya Stotter Shatti Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Krantarat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitya Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 22. Please repeat. Kim Kshatrabandhan Kalinopasrishtan. Kim Kshatrabandhan Kalinopasrishtan. Rashtrani Vatire Avaropitani. Rashtrani Vatayar Avaropitani. Itastato Vashana Panavasa. Itastato Vashana Panavasa. Snana Vyavya Yonmukachiva Lokam. Snana Vyaya Yonmukachiva Lokam. Kim Kshatra Bandhun Kalina Pastrishtan. Rashtrani Vatera Pitani. Itastata Vashana Panavasa. Snana Vyayan Yonmukachiva Lokam. Kim Shatrabandhun Karina Pastrishtan. Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani. Itastata Vashana Panavasaha. Snana Vyavya Yonmukachiva Lokam. Kim Kshatra Bandhun Karina Pastrishtan. Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani. Itastata Vashana Panavasa. Snana Vyavya Yonmukachiva Lokam. Kim Kshatra Bandhun Karina Pastrishtan. Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani. Itastata Vashana Panavasa. Snana Vyavya Yonmukachiva Lokam. Okay. Word to word. Kim Vedder. Kshatra Bandhun. The unworthy administrators. Kalina. By the influence of the age of Kali. Upastrishtan. Bewildered. Rashtrani. State affairs. Va. Or. Taihi. By them. Avaropitani. Put into disorder. Ittaha. Here. Tataha. There. Va. Or. Ashana. Accepting foodstuff. Pana. Drink. Vasaha. Residence. Snana. Bath. Vyavaya. Sexual intercourse. Unmukha. Inclined. Jivalokam. Human society. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhacharya and the Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc., and they're inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? So remember, that was Dharma speaking to Bhumi. Purport. There are some necessities of life on a par with those of the lower animals, and they are eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. These bodily demands are for both the human beings and the animals. But a human being has to fulfill such desires not like animals, but like a human being. A dog can mate with a bitch before the public eyes without hesitation, but if a human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance, and the person will be criminally prosecuted. Therefore, for the human being, there are some rules and regulations, even for fulfilling common demands. The human society avoids such rules and regulations when it is bewildered by the influence of the age of Kali. In this age, people are indulging in such necessities of life without following the rules and regulations, and this deterioration of social and moral rules is certainly lamentable because of the harmful effects of such beastly behavior. In this age, the fathers and the guardians are not happy with the behavior of their wards. They should know that so many innocent children are victims of bad association awarded by the influence of this age of Kali. We know from Srimad Bhagavatam that Ajamila, an innocent son of a Brahmana, was walking down a road and saw a Shudra pair sexually embracing. This attracted the boy, and later on the boy became a victim of all debaucheries. From a pure Brahmana, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin, and it was all due to bad association. There was but one victim like Ajamil in those days, but in this age of Kali, the poor innocent students are daily victims of cinemas which attract men only for sex indulgence. The so-called administrators are all untrained in the affairs of a Kshatriya. The Kshatriyas are meant for administration as the Brahmanas are meant for knowledge and guidance. The word Kshatriya Bandhu refers to the so-called administrators or persons promoted to the post of the administrator without proper training by culture and tradition. Nowadays they are promoted to such exalted posts by the votes of the people who are themselves fallen in the rules and regulations of life. How can such people select a proper man when they are themselves fallen in the standard of life? Therefore, by the influence of the age of Kali, everywhere, politically, socially, or religiously, everything is topsy-turvy, and therefore for the sane man it is all regrettable. Om Jnanatimidandasya Karanjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rapa Kudamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sakrachatam Sahakanarakutantam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paritana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhyabhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming this morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class, and beg the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas that I may be enabled to speak properly on Srimad Bhagavatam and thus glorify Shri Shri Radha Gopinath in this way. So we're in the section where where the Dharma is in the form of a bull talking to Mother Earth, Bhumi, in the form of a cow, after he saw her grief-stricken, and he gives many different reasons why she might be in this distress, why she might suffer. And in that way he's actually describing all the all the trouble that is there in the age of Kali. And so, and in today's verse we're hearing about the state administrators who are supposed to be kshatriyas, which means kshat, comes from herd and triety, from to protect, so from those who protect all the citizens in the best way for their material and spiritual life. And in that way, Srila Prabhupada also discusses how they should be obviously trained properly. Only then they can, like in every respect, especially for the kshatriyas, only then they would be able to govern properly. And but obviously in, like, Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying that everything is topsy-turvy now in this Kali Yuga. And so starting with the point of proper education, like we know in Vedic society, education, it doesn't mean just what nowadays people mostly think, just go to college or wherever and cram in some theoretical knowledge some way or other, mostly just for short-term examination anyway, but there is no concept whatsoever of that would have to do anything with building character, whereas Vedic culture, Vedic education means formation of character. That's like the actual output of proper education. Otherwise it's no use. Otherwise it's actually just leading to hypocrisy if you have knowledge and don't act according to that. Of course, at the same time, obviously nowadays the proper knowledge is not taught, is not known. Like but yeah, that's the so in Devamrita Swami Maharaj, he describes that nicely also, that this contrast to where we know in Vedic culture everyone knows to get certain knowledge you need qualification, which means you need the consciousness accordingly, you need the proper character for that. And it, like we know so many histories where disciples or aspiring disciples worked so hard to somehow get the shelter of a certain guru. And so concept of spiritual master, or not only spiritual master, but of having great respect for a teacher and wanting submissively to qualify oneself to get the proper education from that. Whereas in nowadays, like modern science, modern knowledge, everything, there's no concept of that. Everyone thinks it has nothing to do whatsoever. Like the greatest scholars and scientists and all, they're mostly also most degraded like everyone else. And in fact, even like Maharaj says that nowadays, rather it is, if someone is not so advanced in indulging in those degraded activities, then he's considered retarded. So the more expert you are in those fields, the greater your character is seen. It's like Prabhupada says, completely topsy-turvy. That's so we can. So those are considered to have the greatest intellect, who sharp. They are most sharp, know how to use their resources. Another point I was thinking that is, so we also see like how, we know that for actual human society, human beings means to be regulated, and especially follow the 4 regulative principles. That is that's actually sometimes you might think, we are so great, we're devotees, we follow the 4 regs, but actually that's just for being a human being according to Vedic definition. Not directly something with spiritual life, but obviously it's the basis then to start for spiritual life. Whereas if you look in modern science, what they do, rather than regulating, they invest more and more into becoming more expert in this field, like to exploit nature better for getting this short-term pleasure from those activities. Like, obviously we know from illicit sex that, like, rather than like when someone gets to the age at 50 in Vedic culture, we know would be supposed to consider taking vanaprastha, renouncing everything, dedicating oneself fully to spiritual life. Whereas nowadays at 50, it's like completely normal to have illicit relationships, and rather everything is tried to prolong it more and more to be fit for that, and obviously then to take different drugs and whatever to artificially have the potency, like say like that, potency. Yeah. That I remember back then when I came across in Bhagavatam all this Sanskrit word that Viagra, it actually, if I'm not wrong, it means tiger. So I guess they somehow took the word from there, and because they want to be, no matter how the body, how bad the body already is, like not healthy at all, like at 60, 70 years old, whatever, they want to forget that and still feel like passionate like a tiger. So yeah, that on the first point. Then, yeah, for eating, obviously there's no consideration on law of karma or on that aspect, and also, and we see that how like they misuse their resources, that the food becomes more and more artificial, more and more processed, which is even materially not good at all for our health, as we know. But so yeah, everything becomes more and more complicated rather than leading a simple lifestyle, how it's supposed to be, to grow. Food on the products on simple farms naturally. Rather, it becomes to find new and new ways to somehow get the nutrients. Like, for example, some years back I heard or saw a documentary that they do research, for example, because they know that like meat production, how much is going on now, it's not sustainable at all. Like, it's destroying the planet, and the demand is rising, population is growing, whatever, and so they are looking for alternative sources. And one way is that they because at the same time there's so many insects which are not for human society, not useful otherwise. So they have ways to actually use those insects and use this protein from that, then to I don't know if they do meanwhile, but I heard back then that they consider to then add it so in a way that it's not, you can't notice it, but in different foodstuffs, so to provide the society with protein. So that's ways that they are thinking of, and I'm sure those scientists that work on that, they think themselves, wow, we are real welfare workers. We look how human society can continue. So yeah, that's crazy ways, and invest science going on in that field. Then obviously sleeping, we also know. Actually, it's as easy as just getting some mat, some sleeping bag, and rolling out on the floor, and there's no problem to sleep. Whereas nowadays, there's like more and more fancy beds, and at the same time, like we know, because in Kali Yuga everyone is more and more distressed, so it's actually insomnia is a growing problem. So then they also need to research and how people can, like sleeping pills or whatever, different ways how they can still get the sleep. And then last, obviously defending that. I mean, perhaps the most prominent or like obvious how much the resources are misused in that way, and that how much the different governments invest in their like nuclear bombs and different chemical bombs and all the military, apparently for protecting the citizens, but obviously we know it's just a great threat for the world. So, and sorry. Yeah, okay. So next point in the purport is that Prabhupada gave the example of a Chamil, that back then he was like one exception of falling victim to seeing such illicit activity done publicly. Because like in the verse we hear that previously all those things, they were, at least if someone did it, then they never would have done it publicly. Whereas in Kali Yuga it more and more becomes don't even care about that, because yeah, generally people, they don't even consider it bad, so why would they hide it? So it's rather glorified in many ways. So and yeah, but the point, so that was, Ajamil was one exception in back then, but now it's like it's the norm, and which means that everyone from childhood, we're growing up like that, we get exposed to all of that, and in that way, like in general, men, they're supposed to protect women and children, so the men apparently strong to protect the weak, but nowadays, because from the start there is no system of brahmachari, ashram or anything, and spiritual education, but rather complete exposure to all of that obviously there is no concept of controlling the senses, and without that, how can men give protection to others? Like they're themselves still simply slaves of their senses, and in that way, rather than giving protection, they simply, like Prabhu was telling yesterday also, that gave an example of how they mostly consider women simply as their objects for their sense pleasure, simply to exploit them, and in that way we see that like that's why nowadays one reason why relationships are such a trouble, because it's simply based on sense gratification from both sides, obviously, not just from the men. But so how can a relationship properly work or last if it's simply based on that? So whatever, if the pleasure gets disturbed, then it's given up and moved on. And so yeah, the men, they have no potency, no knowledge, nothing to actually give protection. And in this way, the women unprotected, they then naturally want to gain more and more independence, so-called independence, and they themselves, but are less and less able to actually take properly care of their children and everything. So in that way, children, newborn, like as we go on in the generations, children get also less and less care, and even like proper normal material upraising, whatever. So yeah, it becomes more and more difficult in that way. And and I was thinking then on, okay, so if we, like, especially recently we discussed a lot about all these bad influences of Kali Yuga and how desperate actually the situation is, and that knowing that everything is topsy-turvy, the whole value system, like people, they think that they're indulging in all those illicit activities is their very life, that's their source of pleasure. So obviously it means we cannot go out there and just tell them, okay, stop this, that's bad for you. Like, like Prabhu gave the example of, I think you did, or someone did, of the cigarette packets where it tells you that if you do that you get cancer or whatever. And but yeah, people they're unable to give it up. They are simply slaves of their senses, and they don't know of any alternative. So yeah, so it's impossible for us to go out and change the people like on an external level, on a superficial level, to tell them, okay, do this, you can't do this because it's bad for you. So this means that the only way to change, to help them, is simply to Sankirtan. Because yeah, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is that we don't need, like, otherwise it's first the basic requirement. Human beings, we need to follow proper culture, we need to follow regulations, and then we can think about spiritual life. But Mahaprabhu, he directly gives out this supreme mercy of the holy name that purifies the heart so quickly and not only purifies, but and simultaneously right from the start gives us this higher taste, which enables us then to take the spiritual life. And because otherwise there would be no hope whatsoever. Like, how can people be made to follow the rules and regulations without directly better alternative in terms of getting pleasure? Because yeah, everyone is running after pleasure. That's the nature of the soul, and obviously, as long as we are not in consciousness of being the servant of Krishna, then that's in sense gratification. And yeah, so we can only so we can only actually do change if we work on the level of consciousness, not on arguing or anything else. And that we can do through Sankirtan. And yeah, also comes the connection again to the example of today of Achamil, that we know why he got saved ultimately was because he chanted the holy name of Narayan. And yeah, that shows us also how the holy name, it's one aspect of the greatness of the holy name, that it protects us. So we see that in our life as well. Like every day, whenever we go out of the temple, when we go train station, shopping, or wherever, we get bombarded by all those external, in the influence of Kali, all those sense objects and Maya shouting at you, indulge in this way, in that way. But yeah, we know, okay, yes, chanting obviously best, easiest if we are in the temple room in the morning, best time and everything. But anywhere and everywhere, or anywhere, anytime, when we simply chant the holy name, we directly feel, in at least to some extent, the presence of Krishna, and we feel the protection with that. Even though, okay, I'm in an environment which is not at all suitable to remember you, Gopinath. It's only everything made just to completely the opposite, to forget you and fully go into degradation. But somehow, simply by your mercy, if I chant your holy name, of course, even otherwise, if you are sincere and if we do try to do everything for His pleasure, not only when we chant, we are protected, we are always protected, but most easily it's visible while we chant. And yeah, and then another point I was thinking of, Prabhupada mentions here the word Kshatriya Bandhu to the so-called administrators. And I was thinking it's funny actually, in a way that nowadays all those so-called leaders, they portray themselves as being great leaders, although they are not at all qualified. Whereas, in Vedic culture, it's the opposite. It's like we hear in the example of Muchukunda, for example, in 10th canto, that he introduces himself to Krishna as a Kshatriya Bandhu. And it's explained there that is the etiquette, that's the mood of a proper Kshatriya, that he himself doesn't feel qualified. He thinks, I'm born into this great dynasty. All my forefathers, they did well, did great, but I'm actually not qualified. I'm somehow in the garb of a Kshatriya, trying to do that, but actually I'm not qualified. And I always like to remember this one beautiful verse that he gives there in these prayers, describing of the futility of being attached to material pleasure, to his material body, where he says, Puraratya himaparishkrita ishtaran matam gatyarava naradeva samnita sevakalana duratyayena te kalevaro vitkrimibhasma samnita. So King Muchukunda tells that this very body which was riding on golden chariot, on golden chariot or on great mighty elephants, and was known by the name King Naradeva, is now by your great inconceivable power of time known by the name Vit, so stool, krimi, worms, or basma, ashes. And so I always like to remember those kind of verses as well, because even as devotees, it's so easy that we still are too attached to the body and forget how temporary this is. And but if we meditate a little bit on that aspect as well, and on, of course, and meditating on Krishna himself, always both sides, like Bhagavatam does it a lot, detachment and attachment to Krishna. So, stool, we know that the body becomes decomposed by the different animals who eat it, and obviously ashes, it gets burned many times, so or it gets used by the bodies of worms who eat the body. And because we can take also this knowledge as more inspiration, that okay, what's the point for me to endeavor in any way for material pleasure if I know it's temporary. The only thing that really lasts, the only thing that gives me pleasure as well, is if I try everything to act for the pleasure of the Lord. And so knowing this, and at the same time knowing that the Lord always gives us full protection, like with the example of Achamil that we heard, actually we can briefly maybe go into this pastime that we know that as a boy, like mentioned, he got attracted to indulge in illicit sex, and then he went soon after that. Then he married a prostitute, and his whole life was he got so many kids and just indulged in all the illicit activities. And somehow or other, then, because he named his last son Narayan, then he got to chant this holy name, and at the last moment especially called out desperately to his little son, because he was most attached to this boy. And then we know when the Yamadutas would have come to picking up, then the Vishnu Dutas intercepted. And later then when the Yamadutas, because they are not devotees, they are servants of Yamaraj. So they became completely bewildered, because they knew the record of Achamil, like how sinful he was. And so for them it was a clear case, he's going to be taken to Yamaraj and be punished. Whereas the Yamaraj then, and they thought that Yamaraj would be the supreme actually. So when Yamaraj explains them to them, and that those souls who chant the holy name of Narayan, of the Lord, you can't touch them, no matter what they did before. That's like completely wiped out. They are out of our jurisdiction. It's like, I think that's obviously for them it must be so bewildering. Like for non-devotees, it's like, yeah, how can you conceive of the greatness of the mercy of the holy name of the Lord? So, but yeah, it's a prime example of showing the power of the holy name. So, and so yeah, we can in so many ways we can always meditate on and feel secure in giving our full heart into Sankirtan, into spreading the holy name. We have the protection of the holy name himself. It's none different from the Lord, and like Yamaraj, he will never touch us. He will only assist us, if anything. All the other demigods as well. Lord Nrsingadev, we heard recently, he's protecting Sankirtan. So yeah, there's, and yeah, one other last point I was thinking on. Okay, so we always stress, yeah, we should fully give ourselves for Lord Chaitanya's mission, for spreading the Sankirtan mission, but then sometimes we might think that, okay, yeah, but I do lots of other service, I don't do Sankirtan, so do I have to, should I just feel bad? Or like, obviously at the same time, knowing that Sankirtan is the prime focus of this mission, otherwise the mission, it wouldn't be a real mission, it would just be kind of like, so as Bhakti Rasana Maharaj was telling us, then it would be just more like another religious institution for our own to practice devotional service. So in some way or other, at least we always need to be enthusiastic for it, even if we can't do it ourselves at that time. But yeah, at the same time, obviously, what I meant to say is that any devotional service obviously is on the absolute platform. It's we shouldn't criticize any service. We should always know ourselves fully unqualified for any devotional service. It's like we would never be able to, in whatever many lifetimes, to get to this point of engaging in devotional service. We know it's Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga, so no one of us would even be qualified to practice any other yoga. It's only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Guru Parampara, that we get to become engaged in devotional service. And I was recently meditating on that when taking darshan of Srimati Radharani, that actually, so we know any service we get, it comes down through Parampara. And in that way, whatever we do, it through our spiritual master, through Srila Prabhupada, it goes all the way up. It gets offered then by Srimati Radharani to Gopinath. And so, which means then I was kind of realizing, I think, this means that any service I get, ultimately it's only due to the amazing mood of Srimati Radharani, that she feels, although everyone knows she's the topmost devotee, she's personification of the highest ecstatic love for Krishna. No one can give pleasure to Krishna like she can, but still she feels so humble that she feels all the others, they can give better service to Krishna, and that's why she always wants to put others ahead. So ultimately we only get to get engaged in devotional service because of her mood of wanting to put us ahead and giving us full protection for that. So yeah, keeping that in mind, and then also of course always looking for the special mercy from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also to somehow or other contribute in the Sankirtan mission. Okay. I'll end here. Thank you for attention. Yes, bro. How can you overcome that? Well, I mean, first of all, okay, yeah, we have to be aware and accept that yes, we were born in this Kali Yuga. We were not born devotees, most of us at least. and which means it's our own, by our own choice, our own activities our own karma that we have. So first, like most importantly, in that regard, is we should never blame anyone else. We should first of all take full responsibility. No, it's only my it was my own desires to do those activities and thus to get those reactions. And that then, of course, yes, as a devotee, we do get relieved, and we also kind of do expect to, okay, now I have a better life. But but I mean, in general, it's never actually a proper devotee, we never expect or demand anything from Krishna. Rather, we always feel overwhelmed with gratitude that how it is that I'm so unqualified that somehow I get your shelter. Never mind what tribulations I might have to go through. Like Prabhupada always tells this, I forget where it is said in Bhagavatam, that this verse on this mood of a devotee of thinking that I should actually suffer much more. It's just by your mercy, Krishna, that I get only so little reaction of what I was actually due, and we should. And whatever good I get, it's actually I don't deserve it. It's only your special mercy. So that's the proper mood, and then obviously that's a high platform, not so easy to practice, especially as neophytes. But yeah, I mean, and at the same time we can, like, we know how that Krishna is so personal, and it's obviously for us often the problem is that we haven't realized it much yet. But so at least we should always try to see how, whatever situation I'm in, how I can use it and to get closer to you, Krishna. So and not from the start have the attitude of, okay, I actually, like, that's I wouldn't deserve like that, and like that's making devotional service more difficult. Why is it like that, Krishna? You should arrange better. After all, are you not supposed to facilitate? Like Kurmaji always says, rather, that Krishna, he is not idle in the heart. He's eager to actually to purify our heart and why would he not facilitate? Like, it's so obvious from, if you look at all the examples from Shastra or at other devotees, that if someone is sincere, why would Krishna not facilitate everything for him to advance more and more? So knowing that, then okay, it might be sometimes hard to take, but it definitely means it's only from our side. All we can do is try to become more sincere. After all, that's if we are sincere, then Krishna will always arrange in such a way. Many times not in a way that we would expect, or we would think, okay, that's how I can most easily progress. But Krishna, he knows much better. He knows us better, and he knows better how to get us back to his lotus feet. So, yeah, keeping that in mind, and yeah, hope it helps. Okay. No. Okay. Krantarachima Bhagavatam Ki.